What's up, everybody? This is the Sports Leak Podcast, back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got the co-host, Amanda, back on. What's up, Amanda?
Not much, just ready to talk some football.
Absolutely. And this is the 2023 NFL Week 4 preview. Now, first, let's start it off with talking about Thursday night. The 2-1 Lions at the 2-1 Packers. Your Packers getting Christian Watson and Aaron Jones back. The Lions getting David Montgomery back, but no Jair Alexander, no David Bakhtiari. The Packers place Bakhtiari on injured reserve, so he's out 4 weeks. The Lions jump out to a 27-3 halftime lead, and Packer fans in Lambeau are booing in the first half and going into halftime. What were your thoughts on that first half?
I mean, it was a hot mess. It was kind of how I predicted it. The Packers haven't played a full game yet, and we've seen the Lions play some amazing games this year. They played like the week one beat the Kansas City Chiefs Lions, and that's what I expect from them this year. They had a great draft. They've got a lot of talent on their team, a great coach. We've heard Dan Campbell. We've talked about Dan Campbell all season on the show. I mean, he's boosting morale like none other, and the Packers are in a weird new let's figure out what we are and who we are and, kind of sort out our roles position. So I wasn't expecting Green Bay to win the division this year. The Lions were my division pick, which is, unfortunate, but, good for them. They've been terrible for long enough. Um, I
Yeah.
think some of the major causes of the loss, some really bad overthrown passes. Christian Watson was a non-factor, but there were moments of brilliance. Romeo Doubs learned how to catch the ball. That's great. I think he's been 1 for 4 in the previous 3 games. So that was nice to see. But some stupid picks. That goal line pick was awful. That really turned the game around. And the pick at the beginning of the game, it's hard to overcome that. Um, Jordan Love was holding the ball too long. He even had to throw a left-handed pass to avoid getting a safety. Like it was just some bad playmaking. I mean, he did get some nice throws. The fourth down to Romeo Doubs for 15 yards. Sorry. And then that other
Of
pass to Jaden Reed. I mean, there was some moments of you know glory, but it was just a tough loss. I think the scoreboard makes it look closer than it was.
Yeah, I think Packer fans they're not used to this. Like, when's the last time the Packers have kind of struggled and been unsure about themselves and not had a Hall of Fame quarterback? It's been since the 80s or the very early 90s before Brett Favre. So what did you make of Packer fans kind of being impatient and booing in the first half? Does that bother you or does it make some sense?
I mean, for me, I think they were doing the bad play calling and bad plays being made. Like we can
Yeah,
take a loss. We can take a loss when we're trying. But like some of those throws and those picks, like where were you throwing? What were you doing there? And
yeah.
like there were some really interesting calls, like going for it on two in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the game. Like why? Like it was some interesting things. I think tensions were pretty high. It also sucked that Detroit fans were 60% of the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, in Lambeau, they can't be happy about that either. And
Well, it's
Jordan Love did struggle in the first half. I agree
He
with you on
did. He
that.
did. And I mean, the second or the third quarter, he looked great. The fourth
Hmm.
quarter, it got rocky again. But like I said, we need to play a full game. I
Hmm.
mean, he cost the team 11 yards with a poor backward throw, which kind of killed the momentum we had in that comeback. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson played amazing for the Lions. He posted his career highs in QB pressures. Like he had a sack and a half by himself. Like he was great. And I expected him to be great against the Packers because our O line is a hot mess. I mean, David Bakhtiari is on IR now, so there's no improvement coming down the line there. And I said last week, Sam Laporta can play, and I stand by that. He now has more receptions in his first 4 career games than any tight end in NFL history. He's the
Wow.
so the only other tight end with more yards than him is Hall of Famer Mike Ditka. Like
Damn.
that's hard to argue with.
Yeah.
I mean, Detroit has talent, and I predicted they would win, and I was right. Still rooted for the Packers pretty aggressively, but it's nice knowing I'm right, even if I'm sad.
Yeah. I mean, and to their credit, the Packers started making a comeback, and they were, in my opinion, on their way towards making a comeback. They got momentum in their favor in the second half. They scored on, I believe, their first two possessions of the second half.
Yeah.
And then the Lions are coming down, and I said at this point, I was like, you can allow a field goal here. You can't allow a touchdown. You have to keep it a two-score game. You don't want to go down three scores going into the fourth quarter. And
Yeah. And
the
then
penalty,
Harry jumped. Ugh.
yeah, the penalty on Quay Walker really hurt him at that moment and allowed the Lions to get the ball back and score a touchdown. What did you think of that penalty? I mean, Quay Walker, he got kicked out of 2 games last year, a costly penalty there, but he's a hell of a talent. How do you feel about Quay Walker? Just a dumb mistake?
I think it was a dumb mistake. I also think it's a dumb rule. So I
Yeah.
understand the leverage rule. Like if you push off of someone's back to elevate yourself, like yeah, absolutely not. Like, but if you've got the hops to go after the ball, what's the issue?
Yeah,
Like he
Troy
didn't,
Polamalu used to do stuff like that,
yeah,
you
but he
know?
didn't touch anyone. He didn't hurt anyone. There was no like no hit, no injury. I don't see what the why that rule is there for that. Like your kicker just needs to be good enough to, avoid getting the ball tipped there.
Yeah.
So I think it's a stupid rule. It's a very stupid penalty. He ought to know better. You and I both agreed on that during after the game when we were messaging about it. And I think it was not the position to be doing that because a field goal we could have come back from. Another touchdown just kind of sealed it for us.
Yeah, and the chances of him blocking the field goal there are very slim. And yeah, the penalty is so costly. So the Lions hang on to win 34-20, a big win for the Lions as they get to a 3-1 start. And if you look at the division, the Vikings and Bears are winless. The really only obstacle right now for the Lions is the Packers. So for them to go into Lambeau, get a big early season win, that's huge. That's got everyone thinking, especially in Detroit, let's go win the division now.
Well,
So,
that's the
yeah,
Detroit's the Lions' fourth win against the Packers out of their last
yeah,
four matchups. Like
four straight.
they're
Yeah,
four straight. I mean, I I think it's tough being a Packers fan and seeing that, but like we're allowed to take a couple years to rebuild after back-to-back Hall of Fame first ballot quarterbacks. Like it's okay. And I went into this season with no expectations. I've said before, we could have gone, 2-15. We could have gone with 12 wins. I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no expectations. I wanted to see how they looked on the field. And I mean, postseason hopes after Aaron Rodgers leaves, like let's relax for a year or two. Like it's okay.
yeah, yeah. That was never very realistic. And as a Bears fan, I'll absolutely allow a couple Packers years down.
I
Um,
mean, you guys could be winning though. Like you're not even trying.
yeah, we could be, but the Bears don't like to win. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, Dan Campbell, the first Lions head coach to win four straight against Green Bay since 1983. So
Good for him,
impressive.
man. I would
Yeah,
win games against the Packers for him. That man's speeches, man.
um, and something that stuck out to me is so you guys get Aaron Jones back to go with AJ Dillon. You got an inexperienced quarterback who's trying to figure his way out. The Lions were very impressively balanced. They were completely 50-50 at one point and 43 runs to 28 passes by the time the game was over. For Green Bay, completely unbalanced.
Oh yeah,
And
what a mess.
and I don't understand that. What's Matt LaFleur's game plan here? You got Aaron Jones back. You got AJ Dillon. Run the damn ball, don't you think?
I could not understand why we were throwing so much. Like Christian Watson, I mean, he just came back, so I expect him to take a week to readjust. Our run game was non-existent, and we had no rush defense. They
Mm-hmm.
ran the ball all over us. It was depressing.
Yeah, and I got to give a shout out to my boy David Montgomery. I was mad
He's
when
so
the Bears
good.
got
Oh,
rid of him, and he goes for 141 combined yards and 3 touchdowns. A cool stat on Montgomery. Last season with the Bears in 16 games, 5 rushing touchdowns. This season, through 3 games played, 5 rushing touchdowns. Offensive line matters, and the Lions have a great offensive line.
yeah. I mean, the better team won for sure.
Yeah, they outplayed them, and and got a big win, got to 3-1. Goff throws for 210 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown leads the team. Jerry Jacobs with 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Good game for him. Jordan Love struggled, 2 interceptions. Did throw 2 touchdowns. Romeo Doubs bounce back game. Yeah, Packers 12 rushes for 27 yards.
Yeah.
Not gonna get it done.
No, and I mean, Detroit's defense is good, but I don't like it didn't seem like we were even trying to use our running backs at all. So I don't know if there was like some like quiet conversations about, hey coach, I'm back, but I'm not all the way back yet. Like I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
sure there was some behind the scenes stuff we're missing out on there because it was weird that we weren't using Aaron Jones more.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, yeah, that's an
Like
interesting point on that.
maybe he's back, but only like 70%.
Yeah, but I mean, feed AJ Dillon, right? He's a monster.
He is, yeah. He's a tank. So I don't know what was going on there. It was weird.
Um, so yeah, I mean, interesting. So let me hear your thoughts on this. In the draft, I criticized the Lions. I said that they reached for Jahmyr Gibbs, and I would have stayed put and taken Jalen Carter. And I've been preaching about this for a while now. You can imagine what Jalen Carter would look like on that defensive line next to Aiden Hutchinson. That was nightmares for me
Yeah.
if they had gone that route. They're not. Jahmyr Gibbs looks like a running back number two. Like even David Montgomery is clearly the number one back, and Gibbs is the change of pace back and can catch the ball out of the backfield, but he's not that he's not playing to the level of being drafted that high so far. Do you question that pick at all?
No, because if any other team had David Montgomery, any other running back would be running back two. Like, yeah, they're not utilizing him as a running back one, but I think it's because David Montgomery is so good. There's no need to have him step up into that role. That role is filled, and he's been filling it well since he's been back. I think I think they were kind of holding back for his return, and Gibbs is still young. I think next year he would be a prime candidate for that first role if anything happens with Montgomery. I mean, I know we've seen his injuries on
Yeah.
and off over the years, but I think I like the pick. I liked their draft. And you and I have argued about this multiple times. I think they had the second best draft of all the
Well,
NFL teams.
let me bounce an idea off you though. Let's say you keep DeAndre Swift. Look at what how good Swift has looked in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did they bail on DeAndre Swift too soon? Did they say, "Oh, he's just injury prone and he's not as good as we thought"? And he goes to Philly and he's balling out. Maybe keep DeAndre Swift. I would have kept DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, who led the league in rushing touchdowns last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love Jamal Williams. So
Yeah.
I think I think looking back, yeah, they may have made a mistake there, but they didn't know. Like it's hard when you have a player who's consistently injured, you let him go, and then they start performing and staying healthy for another team. It's hard to know that.
Yeah. I
But
just
I think also we talked about this last week that sometimes players are just a better fit on a different team. Like sometimes they just blossom somewhere else. I mean, we talked about that with OJ the other night.
mm-hmm.
Like sometimes it's just a better fit under a better coaching, a better system, and you just are able to reach your full potential somewhere else where you weren't in your past placement.
Yeah, and Swift is from Philly, from Pennsylvania, so that's a nice fit for him. I just, I love to criticize the Lions, so I'm always going to look for something to criticize them.
Yeah.
To me, I like the way the Lions are built. They're on pace to win the division. To me, at the end of the day, Jared Goff is going to hold this team back from a deep playoff run or Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. He had some great throws. I mean, I'm a Goff doubter. But
Yeah,
there were some beautiful passes in that game where I was like, how on earth did he hit his target there? So it'll definitely be interesting to see how it comes down the pipeline, and the division's theirs if they keep playing like they're playing, obviously. So they have a postseason reservation.
hmm
So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure.
And that, can you imagine that atmosphere, a home playoff game in Detroit? That'll be crazy if that happens.
Yeah, that city needs one. I mean,
Yeah, for sure. So let's get to Sunday predictions. Let's break some of these games down. I'm excited. because we get a 9:30 a.m. kickoff this week. The 2-1 Falcons at the 1-2 Jags in London. Are you excited? Are you going to get up out there in the West Coast at 6:30 a.m.?
Hell no. Why would I get up to see the hopeless Falcons offense with Desmond Ritter? I mean, I yeah, I have no desire to watch that game. I'll read the play-by-play after I wake up. I
Yeah.
might catch like the fourth quarter when I stumble out of bed. Like, no, if the kids let me sleep, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, it'll be 9:30 here. I'm gonna get up and watch it. I need to see Trevor Lawrence bounce back and look like the MVP candidate he's supposed to look like. Uh, Calvin Ridley going against his former team. Um, yeah, I don't trust Desmond Ritter. Give me the Jags to win this one in London, their second home.
Yeah. I mean, the Jags love London. They play well there. I'm picking the Jags too. I mean, both offenses have been struggling. The Jags have
Mm-hmm.
scored only 2 touchdowns in their past 2 games. They rank 29th in third down conversion rate. The Falcons have only scored 2 first half touchdowns over 3 games. So both teams are kind of a mess, but I mean, I'm not picking the Falcons over the Jags, especially not in London.
Yeah, yep. And I expect Calvin Ridley to go off. He kind of left Atlanta on not great terms, and I expect him to want to stick it to his former team. So that's going to be a fun game to watch. Go Jags. Game of the weekend, in my opinion, the 3-0 Dolphins at the 2-1 Bills. Um, I can't wait for this game. I'm going to be watching this game closely. The Dolphins started 3-0 last year and then lost 3 straight games. Give me the Buffalo Bills at home to cool off the red hot Dolphins.
I actually have not picked this game yet, so I'm tempted just to pick the Dolphins just to have some difference from you there. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I wrote toss up. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. The Dolphins have outscored their opponents by 59 points through the season so far. The Bills 56. I mean, both
Yeah.
of them are just blowing out their opponents. All 3 games between Buffalo and Miami last year were decided by less than 3 points or 3 points or fewer. So I think it's going to be a high scoring shootout. It's going to be back and forth. It's going to be a great game, very high octane. It's going to be, a great offense versus a great defense. I mean, the difference is probably going to be if Miami's injuries at corner and wide receiver are hurting them too much. I think that might be the difference maker there. Josh Allen, we love him. I love him. I think they're going to
Mm-hmm.
play a great game. He's gotten his groove back the past couple weeks. Momentum, it's all on their side, both for both teams. So it's going to be interesting. But I do know Josh Allen is 9-2 in his career against the Dolphins. His
Yeah.
best wins against any team. So he's got the Dolphins sorted out. So I got to pick the Bills here just because
Yeah.
if anyone's
Yeah.
going to pick the Dolphins, I think it's going to be them this week.
Yeah. I was gonna say I know you're gonna end up picking your boy Josh Allen.
I'm pretty.
Um, and to me, the X factor here, the Dolphins have done a great job of getting the ball out of Tua's hands super quickly the first 3 games.
Mhm.
The Bills defense last week put a ton of pressure on Sam Howell.
Yeah.
So can the Bills get pressure on Tua, or is Tua going to get the ball out quickly and put up 30 plus points on them, and then it turns into a shootout? So I'm interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, well, I think the Dolphins have been dropping their wide receivers with injuries over the past couple weeks, so he's going to have less targets to get the ball out too. And Josh
Yeah.
Allen he's a perfect 6-0 at home versus Miami. So I
Yep.
think it's going to be a 7-0 after this weekend.
And on top of that, the Bills can't afford. I know it's only week 4. They can't afford to lose this because if they do, then the Dolphins have one up on them already in the head-to-head. They'll be 4-0, and the Bills will be 2-2, 2 games separating them. If the Bills want to win the division again, they need this game.
Yeah, agreed. So I think the Bills are going to come in with a lot of heat. I think Miami's going to be a little cocky, a little high off
Mm,
of last week, and probably a
yeah,
little sloppy.
yep.
So
You go ahead and set up the next one.
okay, speaking of a little sloppy, we've got the Broncos at the Bears. I have seen jokes on the internet all week. Let's flex this one to 3 a.m. on Tuesday morning because no one wants to watch it. We've got four 0-3 teams, and they've scripted it so that they all play each other this week. So we've got two 0-3 matchups. I mean, if you like dumpster fires, you know which games to tune into this week. The Bears haven't won since October 24th, 2022. That's Elon Musk bought Twitter then. That's how long ago that was. They're the only team in
Yep.
all of the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, Major League Soccer, and the NHL to have not won a game since Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Well, it's justifiable because they traded away their best player, not their best defender, their best player in Roquan Smith. And I
Yeah.
had fans on Bears Twitter telling me, quote, like Jack Sanborn is better. Like, get the fuck out of here. You trade away Roquan Smith, you deserve to lose 13 straight. You deserve to lose 14 straight. This is my guarantee of the week. Broncos over the Bears.
Yeah. I mean, the Broncos have been a mess under Sean Payton. He said he was going to come in and clean things up after Nathaniel Hackett. We haven't seen a full game from them. Same issue I'm having with the Packers. Um, Russell Wilson is starting to get back on track offensively. The running game is a bit of a mess, but I don't know what their defense is doing.
The
That
Broncos,
Broncos defense is not even trying. Last week, like, were they even on the field? I don't,
yeah.
it didn't seem like they were trying at all. Their offense got going. They scored some points. So, the offense isn't as dysfunctional as Chicago's. So I think, the Broncos have this one in the bag. And Peyton against the Bears, absolutely going to take that. The Bears have allowed 106 points through 3 games, which is the second most in franchise history. In 2003, they allowed 111. So their most points allowed through 4 games is 134 in 1964. I think they're gonna top that this year.
It's funny because over in Denver, Sean Payton post game after that allowing 70 points, he's like, this was unacceptable. This was embarrassing. We know we're better than this. We got to fix this. Over in Chicago, however, you've still got Eberflus and Getty trying to spin it like, oh no, we're building something. We're working on it. Don't worry. Get out of here. Sean Payton and Russell Wilson
Mhm.
are going to take 0-3 as a slap in the face. Meanwhile, the Bears are taking 0-3 like, oh, like we're still a good team. Get out of here. The Broncos are going to win this.
I appreciate the transparency from
Mm-hmm.
Sean Payton. We didn't say this about the Packers, but Matt Fleur in the post game interviews, they asked him about, like, how does it feel? He's like, oh, it fucking sucks. Like, we got our asses kicked. Like,
Yeah.
full transparency, full blame for it. Very humble, took the blame on himself. Jordan Love did the same thing. I think not only are they dysfunctional, I think the Bears are uh,
Delusional,
disillusioned.
yes.
Yeah,
And
disillusioned, delusional. I think they just are not in touch with reality on how bad their team is.
no, they aren't. And you got Fields and now Chase Claypool calling out the coaching staff. So it's about to get ugly, I think. And I don't think the losing streak is any end in sight in Chicago.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Um,
we'll move on
yeah.
to the next game and maybe get you out of your depression there for a second. So we've got the
So,
Ravens at the Browns. We know the Ravens
yeah,
are a bit banged up. Their O-line, their backfield keeps getting depleted. How are you feeling about that game?
I'm excited for this game. Also, Odell Beckham Jr. and Rashad Bateman are out as well. The Browns have the best defense in all of football, all of the NFL. I think it's going to be a hard fought game, but if it's close, give me John Harbaugh to fuck it up like he usually does. Give me the Browns at home to get to 3-1.
We got to stop agreeing this week. I've got the Browns winning this one too. But Deshaun Watson has not won or lost consecutive games since joining the Browns. He is every other game. They haven't allowed a touchdown in 2 home games this season. So they've been outscoring opponents 51-6. So I'm taking the Browns at home this week. The only 2 teams to have not allowed a touchdown in their first 3 games are the '06 Broncos and the 2000 Dolphins. So
Okay.
I think the Browns are going to be pushing for that. I know, we're down Nick Chubb and Jack Conklin. So it's, going to be some pressure there for sure. But I think the Browns are going to have this one.
Yeah, I love the way it's set up for a bounce back year for Deshaun Watson and for the Browns to have success. When you've got the best defense in football, there's a lot less pressure on the quarterback and the offense. And so just don't turn the ball over.
Hmm.
run the ball, play, ball control and let your defense eat, you should be all right. So I like what the Browns are doing. Credit to Jim Schwartz. He wasn't a very good head coach, but he's a hell of a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think he's doing good work there. I mean, I think it's gonna be one of those matchups that like we had on the fence and it could go either way, but I think
Hmm.
the Browns are gonna pull this one off because of that defense.
Yeah, we'll see if John Harbaugh lets Justin Tucker kick this week.
Oh God. I mean, maybe if it's under 61 yards.
Yeah. We're gonna start disagreeing here in a second. Don't worry, Amanda. Let's set up the 1-2 Bengals at the 1-2 Titans. The Bengals bounced back in a big way on Monday night, and once again, everyone is counting out the Titans. Give me the Titans to bounce back at home.
Okay. Yeah, we how did you pick that? Yeah, I have for the Bengals in this one. I think Joe Burrow is going to continue to push his way through that ankle injury. I think he's going to pick apart the Titans pass defense. Burrow is going to play like Joe Burrow of years past, I think. I think he's going to, show up and do what he needs to do, and he's 2 weeks past his injury now. He's going to be, back in full force, I think. I didn't trust him last week. And he
Hmm.
definitely proved me wrong there. Um, I do think that Ryan Tannehill is going to get in some tight situations. I think he's going to have a lot of pressure. So I got to pick the Bengals here. Um, and Joe Burrow he's always a quick releaser of the ball, but because of that calf injury, I think he's going to be a bit quicker just so he's not taking those hits. So I think that's gonna really mess up the defensive line for the Titans. And we know
Hmm.
they're pretty good anyway. So I got to take the Bengals here. They've only allowed 5 sacks this season, which is their fewest through 3 games since 2018. So Cincinnati is going to be seeking their 12th straight win, allowing fewer than 3 sacks. And I think they're going to pull it off.
Yeah, no Traylon Burks in this game. That's a big loss. So feed Derrick Henry. I want 150 plus rushing yards and 2 touchdowns from Derrick Henry. That's the recipe for a Titans win. If that doesn't happen, it's going to be tough. So go Titans at home. Uh, let's go 1-2 Rams at the 2-1 Colts. Anthony Richardson is back after missing week 3 with a concussion. Give me the Colts at home in AR5, I believe.
Okay. I honestly haven't picked a team in this game. I figured we'd talk it out and then I'd hear your pick. I was leaning Colts, but I put question marks. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be an interesting game. Um, we've got a great offensive asset versus weak pass defense. I mean, the Colts have surprised us so far. They've found their running and passing. And I mean, Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson haven't been available and they're still pulling off wins. They're still, moving the ball. So I think it's going to be a coin flip with that interconference matchup on this one. But I think Aaron Donald is going to be a big playmaker here.
If it was Gardner Minshew starting again, I would pick the Rams. But I'm a big fan already of Anthony Richardson. He's a dog. He looked great before he got hurt in the last game he played. I believe that was against the Texans. So with him healthy and back, I'm going with the Colts. And Stafford's old. Stafford needs to retire. Like, give me the Colts.
Yeah, the reason I was leaning towards the Colts isn't so much Anthony Richardson. I think that surging front seven for the Colts is going to be a real strong challenge there for the Rams O line, and I don't think
Yeah.
Matt Stafford can take hits.
No, and the Bengals were getting after him.
They were. So I think he's going to be tired, and I think the Colts are going to be putting a lot of pressure. As much as it's great to see Anthony Richardson back, but I think that's going to be if they win. I think I'm going to have to take the Colts for their defense, not for their offense. So we can disagree on that and see who comes up with the wins there. But I mean, the Rams have allowed 4 rushing touchdowns in their first 3 games. They allowed one to the 49ers. I think that Anthony Richardson will probably get a rushing touchdown of his own this week. I think he's going to be excited to be back and be playing with a lot of passion. So I'm going to pick the Colts, although they have lost 6 straight home games. So the stats might
Yeah.
be against us there. There might be a bit of a bad luck situation we don't know about, but I think they're going
Yeah.
to avoid their longest home losing streak since they dropped to 8 in 1991. But I think I got to take the Colts just for that defense.
Yeah, and I didn't trust the Rams a lot coming into the season. Uh, no Cooper Cup. Puka Nakua was almost a no-show last week after his really hot start. Just
Yeah,
5 catches last week, and so
I literally said, "Where is Puka?" a couple times during the game.
a quote we never thought we'd say,
Yeah,
but
I know.
it's a subject now. So, yeah, go Colts, but we'll see. It's an interesting kind of a toss-up game there.
Yeah, agreed. So my upset of the week, the stats and the money are all on the Saints, but I got to pick the Bucks over them. I think it's going to be a great revenge game for Jameis Winston. Um, but I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off. Derek Carr is out for the week. I think it's going to be a tough draw at home. Alvin Kamara is back, but I think they're going
Hmm.
to be able to contain him. And I trust Winston to make some good mistakes there, and put the game in favor of the Bucks. I can see him throwing a couple picks. I know Baker Mayfield's been hot and cold a little bit, but I love him, and I think the Bucks are going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, this is your quarterback against my quarterback. Famous Jameis against woke up feeling dangerous Baker Mayfield. Give me famous Jameis to go Florida State on the Bucks and the Saints to win at home. But this is another toss-up game. Good to have Alvin Kamara back, and they're gonna need him to beat the Bucks, who are a pretty good team. Like they struggled against Philly, but they looked great the first 2 weeks before that.
Yeah, but I think it's going to come down to Baker Mayfield's been super accurate this year. He only has one interception, which wasn't really his fault last week. I mean, it was a good throw. I think the defensive players' play was just better.
Hmm.
And he's only been sacked 3 times, so his O line is holding. It's giving him time. Um, the Bucks defense ranks last in the league in run stop, so Kamara is going to definitely be a challenge there. But I think I gotta take the Bucks here.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's go 2-1 Commanders at the 3-0 Eagles. Sam Howell threw 4 picks last week. Give me Sam Howell to throw 4 picks again this week. If the Commanders couldn't block the Buffalo Bills D line, how are they going to block the Eagles D line? Give me the Eagles big at home.
Agreed. The Commanders have so many holes in their pass defense.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is going to completely exploit them. Sam Howell has been sacked a league night high 19 times. He's been pressured the fifth most of any QB in the NFL. I mean, the Eagles' rushing attack is going to run all over that defense. I just don't think the Commanders have any hope of winning this one at all.
Yeah, this could get ugly.
Yeah. If I had to pick a blowout, or a team getting held to 0 this week, it would be the Commanders.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, dang.
Um,
Got two so
let's,
far.
yeah. Two that we agree on, or what?
Two that we disagree on.
Oh, okay.
So another dumpster fire here. We've got the Vikings at the Panthers, our second 0-3 matchup of the week. Bryce Young is back. I
Hmm.
think the Panthers played better with Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
I think Bryce Young is great, but I don't think he's great yet.
Mhm.
So the Vikings are in the habit of losing one possession games now. Last year they were in the habit of winning them. I it's I think it's going to be a break for their defense. Kirk Cousins is going to, rip into another struggling defense. I think the Vikings are going to pull this one off, but I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. I think it's going to be sloppy and messy for sure.
I agree. Give me the Vikings. Actually, probably pretty easily, like a 35, 38-17, 38-20 type of game. Give me the Vikings on the road. I think they feel like they shouldn't be 0-3. This is an opportunity for a statement game. And I'm going to go ahead and sound the alarm for the Panthers. I think they made a mistake. I think Bryce Young was the wrong pick.
Hmm.
He's already getting hurt. I would rather have, I said it pre-draft, I'd rather have CJ Stroud. I think Bryce Young could end up being a bust. And I might eat my words on that, but it's not a good start at all. And, it matters a lot where you get drafted to. And I think the Panthers are kind of a dumpster fire. And I'm not a Frank Reich fan either.
Agreed. And I think that if you're going to draft a quarterback who's that small, You
Mm-hmm.
need to make sure your O-line is beefy. And they haven't done that. They haven't given him the support they need.
Yep.
I mean, we've got a revenge game for former Viking Adam Thielen. So he's got some targets, but I just
Yep.
don't think he's gonna have enough time to do what needs to be done without getting injured or, I think it's going to be a real tough season for him. And I think maybe next year he'll come in and have more support and they'll maybe address those issues with the O line. But
Yeah.
that kid gets rocked.
Yep. And yeah, I don't like Frank Reich either. Going back to Indy, some of the decisions he made at Indy, as head coach, he might be an all right coordinator, but I don't like him as head coach. We'll see. I agree. If they surround him with offensive line and weapons, maybe Bryce Young can develop. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be a rough rookie year.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, we've seen the stats all week about how good the Vikings are on paper. Like
Yeah.
they've Kirk Cousins has the most passing yards
Yep.
of any quarterback. They're 0-3. They've got the top ranked multiple player positions. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but
Well, Justin
if
Jefferson.
yeah, receivers are great, but they haven't won a game. So I think it's going to be one of those situations where either they show up cocky thinking they've got this one in the bag and they lose a close game, or they're going to blow them out of the water and be like, "Hey, we finally need to win a game. We've been playing really well, just not winning games."
Yeah, I vote for the blowout.
Yeah, I'm thinking it could be that, but I mean, the Panthers are going to come into it hot because they're excited their quarterback's back. Although I don't know why. I think Andy Dalton is a better fit for right now.
Yeah, I'll give him a better shot to win if Andy Dalton was playing, but
Exactly. I knew that their offense would improve with him in last week, but I somehow we see something their management staff doesn't see, and I just don't understand what it is.
well, they draft him number one overall and they feel like they got to play him right away. Wouldn't it benefit Bryce Young to sit behind Andy Dalton for a few weeks?
I mean, few weeks, few years, whichever. I think it would benefit them if he doesn't get killed in the first half of his rookie season, but
Yeah, he's still young. Who knows? Maybe he has a growth spurt while he's sitting on the bench.
I will just spit my water all over my computer. Oh, you just need to feed him more. Use some Campbell's. Campbell's chunky soup on the sidelines. All right, talk to me about Steelers Texans. We've got Kenny Pickett coming off of his first 2 touchdown pass game in the NFL. CJ Stroud, he's had those in his first and second and third career starts. I think it's going to be a nice duel between two young passers. We know you love CJ Stroud. Both defensive halves, they've struggled against the run, but they've both been effective versus the pass in different ways. So I think this one's going to be a fun game.
I agree. I think it's a hard fought game. I think the Steelers defense in the end is the difference, but I think it's a close, hard fought back and forth game. Give me the Steelers by single digits, a one score Steelers win.
Okay. I picked the Steelers here too. I figured you would take the Texans. The Steelers defense is tied for fifth in interceptions. Um, but CJ Stroud hasn't thrown an interception yet. I think he will in this game. I think TJ Watt is going to be putting a lot of pressure in there. Um, and the Texans have so many injuries. Their O-line is beat up. I mean, Laremy Tunsil, Titus Howard, Scruggs, Green, Josh Jones, they're all fighting injuries.
Yeah,
So
and
I
I don't.
think CJ Stroud is not going to have a great game, and he's going
Yeah,
to give up a pick here.
yeah, I don't like that with Alex Highsmith and T.J. Watt coming off the edge.
Mm-mm. I think it's going to be a tough matchup for them for sure, especially against Will Anderson Jr. He's going to be outnumbered. Um, I think I think CJ Stroud's going to be taking a lot of hits in this game and probably throwing at least 2 picks.
Yeah, get rid of the ball quickly, C.J., and feed Damian Pierce, Houston.
Yeah, and I mean Stroud got the ball out real quick against the Jags blitz. They didn't surrender a sack last week. But the previous 2 weeks before that, they gave up 11 over the 2 week stretch. I think they're going to look like they did in week 1 and week 2. I think CJ Stroud's going to be taking some hits for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is a big opportunity for the Steelers. Not a lot of believers going into the season. If they can get to 3-1, that's a great start.
Yeah. Oh, also, something that'll be interesting here. TJ Watt coming into the Texans stadium, his brother is getting inducted to the Texans Ring of Honor during the game. So I think TJ is going to be wanting to put on a show for, the family that all came in for JJ's ceremony. So I think some sibling rivalry might come into play here, and TJ Watt's going to have a big game.
Yeah, that's a great point. Here I think we're gonna disagree. The 1-2 Raiders at the 1-2 Chargers. Uh, Look, Brandon Staley has been trying to get fired. Like, you see that decision he made last week to go for it on fourth from his own 24?
That
With
was bonkers.
Yeah, he's an idiot. So Staley's trying to get fired. Austin Eckler is doubtful. Mike Williams is out for the season. Give me the Raiders to go into LA and get a big win. And this is all hopefully Jimmy G plays, but I expect him to. He's still in concussion protocol, but he practiced it. He practiced, and I think that he's trending towards playing. As long as he plays, give me the Raiders to get a big win in LA.
That's where I'm at, though. Like, if Jimmy G plays, yes, them. I mean, Devontae Adams, Jakobi Meyers, those boys can catch anything. I think they've got the receivers they need to burn into that Chargers secondary. I think we're going to see some great lanes open up for Josh Jacobs. I predicted he would have 100 rushing yards or 100 yards last week. He had 78, but definitely improving.
Yeah,
I think this I'm gonna predict it again. Get burned again just because he's trying to spite me. But I think he's gonna get close to his 100-yard game again. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, we've got great deceivers on both teams of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
Keenan
I mean,
Allen is great. Devontae Adams, they're both coming off amazing performances.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and Keenan Allen threw a passing touchdown last week too.
So if Herbert goes down, maybe Keenan Allen can step in and take over
Yeah,
at
I
quarterback.
mean, he can just, throw the ball to himself. And
But
both
I mean,
teams have really bad pass defenses. So I think it's going to be, I mean, if Garoppolo plays, I think it's going to be a shootout and the defenses are just going to not even try. I just don't see their defenses having anything to stop those receivers on either team. Um,
yeah. But if Jimmy G doesn't play, I don't care what kind of defense is out there. Brian Hoyer's not leading you to a win, so Jimmy G better play.
I mean, is it Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell who would be starting?
Either way, I mean, O'Connell looked good in the preseason, but either way, I'm not picking the Raiders.
Yeah, well,
You gotta outduel Justin Herbert.
yeah. I mean, I just whoever's in at quarterback for the Raiders, I think Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa are going to get a lot of contact. Um, and I think if Jimmy G does play, he might need to go back into concussion protocol after encountering Joey Bosa a couple times.
Right.
So,
All right, set us up for Patriots at Cowboys.
all right. So we got, the Patriots coming in. Their offense is up and down all over the place, but they're pretty reliable defense against, limited attacks. We know we've got Ezekiel Elliott coming back for the first time since getting cut by the Cowboys. So we've got a bit of a revenge game. Bill Belichick can scheme his little head off, contain the run there. CeeDee Lamb. It should be interesting. But Dak Prescott is he's kind of in a slump. He's been hitting some walls there. So I think the pass defense for the Cowboys is going to need to step in and carry a lot of that weight. Who do you have winning this one?
I've got this is an upset pick. I got the Patriots going into Jerry World and beating the Cowboys. I think Zeke Elliott wants revenge. He's going to be ready to play if they feed him. Hopefully they do. I don't trust Dak Prescott. Like you said, he's in a slump. He's turning the ball over. I'm just not. I don't trust him. I like the Patriots defense, and I think Trayvon Diggs is a bigger loss than people are talking about in Dallas. Like, I think that played a big role in why they lost to the Cardinals, and we might see that again on Sunday. The Patriots need it, and they need to get back to 500. They know that. Give me the Patriots in Dallas.
Okay. I actually had the Patriots picked here too. I figured we would disagree on this one. But I mean, the
Yeah, I
Cowboys
thought you did.
quarterback, you can't be averaging a career low of 6.3 yards per attempt and 5.3 air yards per attempt and still pull off a win. I just I think I don't know what their solution is going to be if they keep losing people who are important to them winning games. If they're not replacing them, they don't have a next man up situation going at all. And I mean, Dak Prescott's air yards are second shortest in the league behind Anthony Richardson.
Yep. What did OJ McDuffie say multiple times? It's about depth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to fill in if you do lose players. And Tyron Smith has been ruled out. They're starting left tackle. Trayvon Diggs is out. It's going to be tough. And even though the Patriots lost that game to the Dolphins in week 2, I was encouraged by how they looked, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. I think I was more impressed by them than I was by the Cowboys in their loss. Which is kind of why I picked the Pats here. I mean, I had the Cowboys last week. I had them winning that one. I was
Yeah.
embarrassed by that. But they're a mess and they just don't have the depth to cover. There's no next man up. And I think that's going to come back to bite them in the ass for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So surprisingly, we agree on that one. I think
Yeah, I
we
was
both
surprised.
we both expected each other to pick the Cowboys, but neither of us have faith.
No, we've both picked them and been wrong so far this year. So we're like, ah, fuck them.
Um, the 1-2 Cardinals at the 3-0 49ers. Can the Cardinals do it in back-to-back weeks? Absolutely not.
I was gonna say there is no way in hell. The
Yeah.
Niners are offensive machine. I mean, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, they are just they're clicking. I think Josh Dobbs has been impressive filling in for Kyler Murray. I think, he's been playing pretty well, but there is no way in hell
Yeah.
they're gonna come into San Francisco and pull off a win.
No, and the Niners are getting Brandon Ayuk back.
Mm-hmm.
The Niners should. This should be, if there's a blowout this week, give me this one as well. The Cardinals, Josh Dobbs has been playing better than expected. James Conner's been doing all right, but the Cardinals are not any good. They are tanking. As much as people want to say they're not, they are. I still got them winning at most 4 games this year, and this is a game where they come back to reality against a true contender. The Niners are going to feast, especially at home.
Yeah, I do think Arizona's run is gonna put up more of a fight than any of the other matchups that the Niners have faced. So I think they still need to make sure they're ready. I mean, everyone was surprised by Arizona last week. I don't think the Niners will be surprised by them this week, but I think they're probably going to put up more of a fight than a lot of people are thinking.
Yeah, but the Niners are also going to take them more seriously. Like, it's easy
Yeah,
to look at
after last week.
the Cardinals. Yeah, but now
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan can be like, look, if you don't take them seriously, you're going to get embarrassed like the Cowboys did, you know?
Yeah, I think their game against the Cowboys was a great warning shot. I think if that game hadn't happened before this one, it might have been interesting. But now the Niners know what to look out for. So I think the Niners will still have a hold on this one, but they'll be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me the Niners big at home. I'm going to say by 20 or more.
Okay. All right. So
Um,
Sunday night, we've got the Chiefs versus the Jets. I know everyone hoped this would be Mahomes versus Rodgers, but now it's going to be defense versus defense. We've got two great defenses. How do you see this one playing out?
well, I'm rooting for the Jets defense, right? I'm never gonna root for the Chiefs. This team is is cocky. They're front runners. They're 2-time champions. The media is talking about the Chiefs three-peating, and that's not gonna happen. Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift, and she's gonna be at the game. Who gives a shit? Uh, Sauce Gardner, please pick off Patrick Mahomes. Quinnen Williams, please get after the quarterback. Jets defense, I'm praying you show up. And Zach Wilson, just don't throw it away. All that being said, the Chiefs are going to win, but
Mhm.
keep it. It's our only game on Sunday night. I don't want to fall asleep by halftime. Keep it competitive, please.
I mean, we've got the arguably the best quarterback in the league versus, I mean, Zach Wilson. So maybe the worst quarterback in the league. Um, I mean, it's gonna be It's
Yeah.
going to be a game of the defenses for sure. And I can see the Jets defense keeping them in this game, but I do see Zach Wilson throwing the game away.
Any chance Zach Wilson is fueled by Broadway Joe Namath quotes and plays the game of his life?
Probably not. I mean Chris Jones is back. He's been huge in his
Yeah.
return. Kansas City is real stoked and excited after that win last week, and they've got Swift mania going on. I mean they're all over the media and they're loving it. They're the media darlings right now. So I think whatever morale boost Zach Wilson has is going to be completely outdone by the Chiefs on their high right now.
I would love nothing more than a Jets defensive domination. Zach Wilson plays the game of his life, and Taylor Swift goes home crying and doesn't show up to another football game this year. Please.
Yeah, I love the trend going around right now of women talking to someone on the phone and recording their husbands, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce is lucky Taylor put him on the map. Like nobody even knew who he was before she started talking about him, and the husband's getting pissed off. That's how I feel. Like, who the fuck can we just have football? Did we need to have pop music
Yeah.
divas come in? Like, she's amazing, whatever. She's great. She's broken records for most albums or whatever she's done. I'm not a Swiftie by any means. Like, can we just have football? Can it be sacred, please? Like, oh God.
Leave it alone. Taylor Swift, stay at home. Go do whatever you got to do. Let us enjoy football, please.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least Monday night, Seattle at the Giants. We don't have to deal with any Swifties or pop culture. I mean, we've got the Seahawks going to New York. We've seen the Seahawks play really well and really shitty. How do you see them showing up for this game or not?
This is a great game. I'm looking forward to this one. Finally, we got rid of the back to back, the two games going at the same time. Split screen BS. One game to focus on, and it's going to be a great game. In New York, the Giants are going to be pumped up and ready to go. The Seahawks are getting Jamal Adams back, who we haven't seen in damn near, it feels like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So excited to get the Legion of Boom 2.0 together. Um, this is a tough game to pick. It could honestly go either way. Um, Man, I wrote down give me the Giants for the win. I was just thinking in my head, I'm like leaning Seattle, but in New York, this is man, who are you going? Let me ask you first. Who are you going here?
So I picked Seattle. I have at the bottom of my notes, Seattle win close game. The
Yeah.
Giants have won 7 straight Monday Night Football games. I don't know if that's a curse or not, but I just don't see them breaking that yet. I think their issue is going to be their tight end, Darren Waller. He is not producing what he should be. He's averaging 1.7 yards per run, which doesn't sound awful for a tight end, but he's targeted 25% of the time.
Mhm.
25% of your targets can't be less than 2 yards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're targeting someone that much, he needs to be producing and he's not. So I think they're limited on offensive weapons. And I think that the defense is going to pick them apart. Seattle's defense is good. We've seen them clicking last week. I mean, their offense is clicking too. Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker. I love Kenneth Walker. He's my favorite running back this year. We scooped him up in fantasy as soon as I had the chance. Uh,
Pardon.
so I think it's gonna be Seattle in this one, but Geno's first start at MetLife since week 7 of 2016. I mean, he's going home to the
Yeah.
his home stadium where he was drafted. And I think he's gonna be ready to show off a little bit. He is playing the best we've ever seen him.
How the Giants have won how many straight at Monday night?
Lost 7 straight.
Lost seven straight. Oh.
Yes. So
Well, everything like I Kenneth Walker is my dude.
yeah.
Uh DK Metcalf is my dude. Jamal Adams is back. Quandre Diggs is my dude.
Mhm.
Uh, all signs are pointing to Seattle.
Yeah, and especially with Saquon Barkley, I mean, he's still gone, so Daniel Jones doesn't have that support. So I think you can't pick against Seattle here.
Well, you say I can't, but here comes Alex, and Alex is going to pick the Giants to win at home on Monday
Uh,
night. We need to disagree.
Yeah,
So
we've got what, three this week?
yeah, give me
Okay,
number
we
four.
needed a tiebreaker. That's good. You can
Yep.
take it.
And give me the Giants at home. Daniel Jones does it with his legs. Daniel Jones is a big rushing game, and
When you say does it, do you mean fumbles the ball and loses? Because it's
no
Monday Night Football and they can't win a Monday Night Football game?
runs for 2 touchdowns. Looks like prime Mitch Trubisky out there,
Okay,
and
I gotta write that in my note. Daniel Jones runs for 2 touchdowns. Okay.
the Giants beat the Seahawks on Monday Night Football.
Okay. I can't wait to talk to you about that Tuesday when I can rub it in that you got your ass kicked in your picks again.
Everything about that is going against my gut, but
You know
give me,
what? Sometimes you gotta pick a toss up one. I mean, you have to pick some of those because they happen. Like nobody picked the Cardinals beating the Cowboys.
exactly.
Like,
Well, why couldn't that have happened a week earlier? Why couldn't the Jets have done that to the Cowboys? Then I would have looked like a genius.
yeah, like when you picked the Broncos
Yeah,
over
why
Miami.
couldn't the Broncos have shown up?
I don't know. If they played 4 quarters, it would have been a much closer game. They still would have lost, but I don't know where their defense was in that game. That was depressing.
You play a bet. There's the thing about football, though. You play a best of seven series. The Broncos win one of those. You know,
One.
it's just happened to be that game, and they threw up 70 on them, and OJ McDuffie got to, make fun of Alex on the podcast. It is what it is, but sometimes you get them right, sometimes you get them wrong.
Yeah, I mean it happens. My pick got beat by 24 points. It's not
Yeah.
quite 50, but I'll take it. But I think it's going to be one of those weeks where we're going to be surprised by one or two picks. I think the two dumpster fire games should be fun to watch. I love me some no-win teams fighting for scraps. It's always entertaining.
Here's an interesting take. I'm
Okay.
actually going to be upset if the Bears win on Sunday.
What are
'Cause
you pulling for? How many losses do you want?
I I'm done with this team as it's constructed. I've tweeted multiple times this week and last week. Fire the GM Ryan Poles. Fire the head coach Matt Eberflus. Fire the offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. I still root for Justin Fields, but I was right. I'm doing victory laps because I was right from day one about how the Bears are constructed, how they're put together. It's flawed, and they're not a good team. And I still think they haven't done enough around Justin Fields. The O line sucks. The D line sucks. You traded away my favorite player in Roquan Smith. The Bears deserve to be on this losing streak. So keep it rolling.
I want them to hold up their streak this year until October 24th, so it can be a full 12 months since they won a game. I mean, but their schedule is going to be Broncos this weekend, and then we've got at the Commanders, at home versus the Vikings, and then at home versus the Raiders. Do you think any of those are wins? I
Yeah,
mean,
let me.
Sam Howell, you think he's going to hand them that game?
So, Bears. So, this is the most winnable game right here. This coming up game at home against the Broncos. They could easily lose at Commanders. They have no D line to get after Sam Howell. Justin Fields is going to be running for his life. They could easily lose at home to the Vikings. That's a winnable game though too. Um, let's see. I think Week 10 at home against the Panthers. That might be it right there.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if Sam Howell will still be standing after facing the Eagles defense.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know who's their backup.
Their backup is Jacoby Brissett.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's all right.
I mean, you guys might be facing him though, so
Yeah, either way, the Bears suck. The Bears, I think, are the worst team in football in the NFL. I really do.
I'm not gonna argue with you as a Packers fan. Like, yeah, they sure are. I will
Well,
I will always agree with you. Back in the day when they had Hester, Urlacher, Robbie Gold, it was much easier to root for them. But now it's sad. Like I can't even make fun of them because they're just so bad.
look, if it were up to me, if I were running the Bears, we would not only still have Roquan Smith, we would have Jalen Carter, we'd have George Pickens, we'd still have Khalil Mack.
Mhm.
We'd have at least a defense. I mean, shit, give me a defense. If you're suck on offense, that's the Bears' way, but at least give me a defense.
Yeah. I mean, I can't argue with you there. That would be a way better team. That would be a scary defense to face for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I could rant forever on my Bears.
I was gonna say hot takes from Alex on how shitty the Bears are as usual. But it'll be a fun week to see how things played out. Question though, did you pick the Packers or the Lions?
I picked the Packers.
Oh, you picked my team and I didn't. That's interesting.
Yeah, with Aaron Jones back and Christian Watson, I felt and I'm rooting against the Lions this year. You know, they've proved me wrong a couple games now. I don't want them. I'm still rooting for them. I love the fact that they're the only team in football that's never won their division.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that keeps up, but right now it doesn't look good.
I was gonna say, who's gonna take the division from them? The Packers, who are mediocre at best and can play two quarters at best.
I'm still holding out hope the Vikings can pull their head out of their ass and they win the division at 9-8 or 8-9.
Our division is gonna be like the old NFC South. Like nobody should be allowed to win that division.
Yeah, or the NFC South last year.
Yeah. I mean, there were a few years there where it was like none of these teams are above 500. Why is one of these going to the postseason?
Yeah,
All right. Well,
but
great chatting football with you as always. I look forward to running down Sunday with you later
yep.
next week and seeing how these games play out.
Hoping to have a big guest for our Week 4 recap episode on Tuesday, and so stay tuned for that. Our subscribers keeps going up. We appreciate all the support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We're building this thing, so appreciate you, Amanda, for helping out and coming on every week. And sooner than later, we're gonna be on national TV, so we'll keep it up.
We're getting there.
All right, peace out, guys.